Well,
Welcome back to the Transplaning Podcast. My name is Bear, joined by the lovely Daphne with her Yoshi earrings.
yes, but they're not the green ones.
It's
I
okay.
was gonna change them
Blue
to green
works.
ones. Yeah, I have green ones. Anyway, okay. Today we have a special guest here with us. We have
Yes.
Erica Deuso, who is it Deuso or Deuso?
Deuso.
Deuso. Okay, we have
Deuso.
Erica Deuso, who is the first trans person in the state of Pennsylvania to win an executive office. So, welcome. This is kind of big to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the outreach. This has just been really overwhelming for a small town race. I didn't expect this kind of outpouring of love and gratitude throughout the United States and beyond. So
Yeah.
always happy to come on and talk with people.
Well, and we're excited because we are booked out fairly far.
February?
February, almost
Yeah,
into March
almost
now.
into March.
And so a lot of times when we find out there's these big stories happening, it takes us a long time to find somebody to come talk with us, and then it's a long time before we can get them scheduled. So for you to win so close and be willing to come on so fast, that was I don't know, it was really nice for us, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come be here with us. So
Anything I can do?
yeah. Well, on that note, let's kind of just jump into it. If you don't mind, let's go over your story a little bit, and then we can talk about the politics side.
Yeah, so my story is, your average everyday American story. Not really, no. So I was born 1980 in South Burlington, Vermont. Growing up, it was, had both my parents there, and there was always enough love if there wasn't always enough money
Right.
or heat for the house growing up, or food. So we faced some hurdles growing up, but it was our neighbors who really helped us stay afloat.
Yeah.
Great.
Keep pushing on. So, neighbors brought us food, clothing, helped us with wood so we could stay warm in the wintertime.
Wow.
And moved to Pennsylvania when my dad found another job. When I was 12, lived in central Pennsylvania in a very red area. A couple weeks after I moved there, a new black family had a flaming cross thrown on their lawn. So
Oh my God.
something
Oh
I had
my.
never seen in Vermont happened to me very quickly in Pennsylvania. So, went to high school there, did my undergrad in Philadelphia at Drexel University, scientist, and graduated there, and went and moved overseas when the company I started working with needed someone to go over there and work on a project. So
Where
moved over
did
to
you go overseas?
Copenhagen, Denmark.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
love-
place I
I
would
love
like to go
Copenhagen.
see.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Little Mermaid is from there. One of the old parks is from Copenhagen. Very nice, very happy people.
Yeah.
When they have like five different words for cozy, that they're going to be happy people. So I worked there, did a little bit of school there, learned how to brew beer there, and then I moved back.
Right on.
And when I moved back to the United States, I tried to find a place to live that really reminded me of home. And Dowingtown, Pennsylvania really fit the bill. So I bought a house, put down my roots here, been here for 18 years now, and been working with the Democratic Party or candidates for the past decade. And this year I decided, you know what? My mayor, stepping down, has asked if I would be interested in running for mayor. I want to give back to this town that gave me so much.
Yeah.
So,
What was the town name again?
The town is Downingtown.
Downingtown. How close are you to Scranton?
Approximately 2.5 hours south of Scranton.
Fair enough. Well, it turns out there's
Is that
another
where you are?
office. No, but that's where the office was, isn't it?
The office, yes, the office was in Scranton.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. I've been through Philadelphia and a large part of Pennsylvania in the past. And I don't know, the state is beautiful. I really enjoy it. Except for the one highway that lasts forever and takes you past Hershey. It's the longest damn highway, I swear to God.
Oh,
You know
you're
what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's the Pennsylvania Turnpike. It goes all the way from um, the Delaware River all the way to the Ohio border.
Yes, and it is the longest fucking highway. You just drive down it forever.
It doesn't go east west. It goes,
Northeast to south.
You start going west, and then you start going south, and then north again, and then you hit a certain point where you just go northwest for like 150 miles.
Yeah.
So
I just remember it being long, and I was not a fan of that highway, but I liked the state. I really enjoyed the state.
yeah, good,
Yeah.
good. Where
Uh,
are you located at?
I almost said Arizona. I'm not in Arizona.
No.
I'm in
This is
Portland. We're in Portland.
Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Not Portland,
Oh,
Maine.
Portland,
Right,
Oregon.
right.
I accidentally called the police department in Portland, Maine one time because I was like, yeah, I'm going to call and talk with them. And I went to call them and they're like, yeah. And they
Oh.
were trying so hard to find me. They were trying, and we were going back and forth. We had so many like commonality, whatever, different landmarks and things that were like almost the same. And they were trying so hard to
Oh,
find
man.
me. And I was trying to find them and we couldn't find each other. We're both going, I'm right here. Where are you?
And it's
And
Portland,
then it
Maine.
turned out it was Maine and Oregon.
Yeah, Portland, Maine. Great city. Love it. Very, very good people who live in Maine.
Yeah, I got that. I got that impression from them. Okay, so you were asked to run for mayor, or to consider it anyway.
To consider it, I was thinking about something else, something at the county level, and having a conversation with our current mayor on the way to see Kamala Harris choose Tim Walz in Philadelphia.
We have
Um,
so much Kamala today.
Yes.
So I was at that event in Philadelphia where
Wow.
she brought on Tim Walz for the first time,
Wow.
and we were talking on the way because I drove, and he just said, you know what, I don't think I'm going to run for mayor next year. We need a strong Democrat. Are you interested? And I said, I'll definitely think about it. And he's like, well, it would mean a lot to keep this in Democratic hands. So.
What made you decide to go with politics?
Well, I've always been someone who doesn't like keeping her mouth shut, and
I have that
it's
problem.
yeah. So I like being somebody who people can count on.
Yeah.
I like being in the service of other people.
I love
So
that.
this was a natural extension of it. Trust me, I'm not doing this for the money. There is no money here. Mayor of Dowingtown makes a whopping $2,500 a year.
Woo!
Not 25,000, 2,500. Turns out to be $183 paycheck every month.
Well, fine. Brag about it.
And I've already told everybody that I'm going to be donating the whole thing to charity.
Oh, wow.
We have a lot of 501c3s around here that could definitely use the help.
I love that. Like, that's such a good way to be like, I'm going to represent and serve my community, and I'm going to serve my community.
Yeah, and give back and
Yeah.
make sure people are taken care of. And we have a couple of dog rescues here. We have a 501c3 that's just based on random acts of kindness.
Do you have a bear rescue? Because we have a bear needs rescued.
We only have one bear that we've ever seen in our town. And it wanders in from our local park. So
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Came in from the counter. Wasn't
It
me.
wasn't me.
Okay, cool. So you decide to run for mayor. You. What's the process like for deciding, like for trying to do that kind of a run, and what's your community perspective, like how, I mean, it sounds like it's a decently small town, and my guess is you probably know everybody there. But more along the lines of that, you used to have your community that you're close with. How did they react to you deciding to run?
I'll tell you a quick story. I was telling somebody that I was thinking about it, and they said, "Why would you want to run for mayor? You know, the first thing anybody's going to ask you to do is do like a fix a pothole or build a speed bump or something like that.
Okay.
You want people coming to you with these tiny little things that they're worried about?" And I said, "Absolutely. That's what I want. I want people to be able to come to me like I'm their neighbor because I am." And tell me about the things that need to be fixed in our town. Um, and that's the kind of mayor I want to be, and that's the response that I gave to people when I said that I was running for mayor. I'm running to be your good neighbor, somebody who's going to get things done for you, someone who's going to get things done for this town. Make sure that we're maintaining this town as someplace that's safe, sustainable, and strong for everybody.
So I grew up in a small town down in Arizona, right? One of the ways we determined how small a town was if you had a street light, like a street lamp light. What do you call that? The stoplight. Do you have a stoplight where you're at?
Oh, we have way too many. If you ask me, we have way too many.
Ooh.
But,
Fair enough.
but yeah, Downingtown has about 8,500 people.
Do you have a Walmart?
Our closest Walmart is one town over.
So close
we
to
have
a medium.
we're,
It's a 2-horse town.
It's a 2-horse.
we have we have a Walmart one town over, but the zip code has 2 Targets.
Wow.
Hmm.
So there's another town near. Awesome. Okay, so how did the community around you react when you said? Well, you said that because they wanted to know about potholes, but I mean that's the shop down the street. We're meaning more along the lines. You, what's the process like of running for an office?
Well, I mean, for a local office, it can be anything from doing absolutely nothing, which we've seen candidates do, but we actually ran a full campaign. So in this run, we had a primary challenger, we had a general election challenger. So first thing you had to do was get on the ballot. You have to go through a petition process. You get signatures from the people in your community who support you running.
How many signatures?
Technically, we only needed 10, but we ended up getting nearly 60 signatures, and that was
Good for you.
um,
Yeah.
that was Southeast Pennsylvania in the month of February, walking door to door,
In the
getting
snow.
people to. Well, we didn't have that much snow, but it was a lot of talking to people out in the cold. So
Yeah.
we had the time. We got out. We got about 60 signatures. We got on the ballot. And then it's just campaigning. So you have your field operations, which is your knocking doors, making phone calls, sending text messages. We had a mail program where we would send different pieces of mail through us or through the local Democratic Party. And then there was just events, having people come together. We did a town hall. We did a launch party. And then there was fundraising. So it was call time. You're on the phones 2-3 hours a day, calling people, asking for donations to your campaign, and getting on the phone with places that endorse candidates and having to ask them for their endorsements.
So
We did.
on a national campaign, people will spend billions of dollars to get a person elected to office or to get different. What's that term again, Bear?
For
The items, the initiatives, whatever,
initiatives,
right? People will spend billions of dollars on these things to get them elected. How much does it cost in a smaller town to get elected?
So we raised about $25,000. We finished with about $6,000 left, so about $19,000
Wow.
to win a race. that will never pay as much as you pay.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so a lot of money ends up going into this. You've spent a lot of time door knocking, making phone calls, asking for donations. Um, One of the reasons that you ended up making such big headlines was being the first trans person to be elected to one of these major offices like this, right? Was your campaign ran on being trans?
Oh, absolutely not. We ran our campaign on all the things that people care about. We ran it on public safety, flooding, housing affordability, things that people, look at from a kitchen table issue. They want to have their kids be safe on the way to school. They want their housing to not break the bank.
Right.
They want to not worry the next time a big storm comes through here that we're going to get 20 feet of water coming down our river here in town.
Right.
Those are the things people really care about. As I've heard often, over the past 6 to 8 months, people are worried about the wrong 1%.
Right.
People are worried about, billionaires and, maybe a trillionaire, getting more tax cuts. People are worried about, their grocery cost. People are worried about, whether or not they're going to have a job. Trans people just aren't registering it. And they're tired of people running on fear. I think they'd much rather have somebody running on love, and that's what we really ran this campaign on.
I love that so much.
I do too.
I do.
So,
Yeah.
Did your opposition use you being trans against you?
Oh yeah, on a daily basis almost. We're still getting it. It's a tough nut to crack. Once somebody gets this idea that you are running on your identity or gender ideology or something like that,
Yeah.
it's really tough to get in there and say, look, I don't know if you've been following or you just heard what you heard on the radio or, on these Republican echo chambers, but the way that we were running this campaign was focusing on the issues.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody brought up gender, it wasn't us.
Did you respond to that or just let it die?
There's differences.
Okay.
So, if somebody's coming at someplace from a place of ignorance, I might jump in and say, hey, I remember somebody saying like, oh, you just cut something off and now you think you're a woman. I'm like, honestly, it's a lot more nuanced than that. There's a lot of things you have to go through, mental health, medical procedures. You have to get sign-offs on things, hormones, and it takes a long time, really. They had no clue. They thought it was just like, hey, I'm going to throw on a dress, and now you have to call me and everything. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. And I would try to educate some people. And then some people, it was just like, you're trying to get a rise out of me, so I'm not even going to, bother with you.
Yeah.
And I look at it like this, it doesn't bother me. I've been out for 16 years. I've heard everything. I've seen everything. These things don't bother me. The thought there's a trans kid out there who is coming on and seeing things that people are saying and then me not pushing back, that's what bothers me. So, I need to push back where I feel like it's going to be warranted, where I feel like I'm going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your candidacy was not about your identity, but you have news stations report about your election, did that make you feel outed, or did it bother you that these news broadcasts would bring that up?
No, it didn't bother me. I did have some words for some of them very early on, and just like, hey, I understand that you guys work on newspapers sold, you guys work on number of clicks, you're working for advertisers. That's how you guys make your money in the media. I understand that. But I also need you to make sure that you understand that I'm not running this campaign to be the first of anything. I'm running this campaign to be the mayor of Dowingtown, and the fact that I'm trans is sort of like, hey, that's a nice little footnote or side note on this campaign, but it's not the reason I'm running for office. Some of the people in the media thought I was attacking them because of the way that they wrote it, and then I was coming back and saying, "Oh, it's really not about that." And then some people really understood that, hey, we need to do better. So one example, Philadelphia Inquirer did this great piece on me towards the end. They embedded with our campaign. They wanted to see what it was like being out with this person who was probably going to be the next mayor of Dowingtown. What it's like on the doors. And to a person, nobody brought up my identity. It was the reporter who said, what does it mean? Why do you support Erica? And people were like, oh, she's truthful. She's honest. She's a part of this community. I've never known her to not pick up the phone or knock on my door when something's going on to let us know or to offer us a hand. And, when they were asked, well, what about her identity? They're like, who cares? That's not doing anything for me.
What about it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the feeling I got. I got more questions on doors and on the phone and on text messages and everything about our Christmas parade than I did about my gender identity. Because it just didn't matter to people.
You want to tell us about your Christmas parade?
Yeah, the Christmas parade's the second weekend of December. It's one of the biggest attended parades. We line our streets from the very western part to the very eastern part. We have hundreds of people, floats, different companies. We have both of our local high school marching bands in it, and then Santa Claus finishes up at the end. And I am proud to say that I'm on a first name basis with Santa.
I love that. I love that so much.
So, it's a great Christmas parade. If you're ever out here in Downingtown, that's a great time to be out here.
If I'm ever out in Downingtown, I'm going to look you up and just come find you. Just, hey, we're here. That almost sounded creepy. I'm going to come find you. It's not like that.
Find you.
I'm going to find you as a friend. We'll go have lunch together.
Yeah, it kind of felt like Taken a little bit. Like, I will find you. And
I have a particular set of skills.
exactly.
Try to get me to stop talking. It'll kill you.
Mute.
Okay. So you've been running. The town knows you, and they don't seem to care that you're trans, and so you're just focused on the issues. I love that. That's something that we hear a lot with Sarah McBride. Is she goes, the state of Delaware didn't elect me to talk about being trans and to push for all of that. They elected me to take care of them and their issues, and for the most part, she's just pushed off and not even talked about being trans. She just kind of blows it off for the most part. And yeah. I was listening to an interview with her, and she made a comment that the problem that she faces is, she would love to be able to talk about it, but if she turns around and says anything about trans or being trans issues or being trans, anything like that, that is all the media will focus on with her. It won't become about anything else. It'll be, let's focus on this one thing. She goes, that's not doing my constituents any help. That's not serving them properly. And so, it's worked out well for her that the others in her party have stood up for her, but that's just kind of how she sees it.
Yeah, and over the past 11 months, and when I first started running, it was not a lot of people even knew that we had an election this year. We have elections every year, but typically municipal elections are very poorly attended.
Yeah,
at least here. So I'll give you an example. The last time the mayor's office was up for election, turnout here was 38%.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so very low.
What was it this time?
54%.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
What made the difference?
Knocking 2,100 doors, making about 1,000 phone calls, sending text messages to multiple different people throughout the town. Getting endorsements from our mayor, our former mayor, our former mayor, getting endorsements from our borough council, talking with businesses, just being out and being available to people. I think that's the kind of mayor they want. They want somebody who is going to be like their neighbor, where they can just show up and talk about the things that are on the top of their mind, and not feel like they're encroaching on somebody's personal space.
Right.
I want people to come and find me and talk to me about what's on their minds.
Yeah, I love that. What did you do for work before you decided to run?
Well, I still am working. Again, $2,500 a year. No, I can't survive on that. So being mayor is a part-time job. I'm going to maintain my job. I do business process improvement, Lean Six Sigma, try to reduce waste and reduce resources, time, energy, money in business processes in the pharmaceutical sector.
Wow.
Wow.
So you're having to raise funds to go ahead and do something like this. I imagine that not all of this came from donor funds, though this was probably in a large part funded by you. Am I wrong in
No,
that?
yeah, I when we first started, just to get the pack rolling, I put in $3,000 of my own money.
All right.
The other $22,000 were just raised by small donors and endorsement money.
Wow.
So we were endorsed by the Victory Fund. They gave me some money. Advocates for Trans Equality.
Oh, wow.
They gave me some money, and a PAC called Greater Than. Um, they endorse people who are running for office, and not national races but local races.
Yeah.
That we can really think about as our neighbors and as our friends and as our family who's getting out there and running. And they gave me some money. Um, but generally it was picking up the phone, calling, not being on doors, having a couple of fundraisers. But yeah, 23,000 dollars was raised just by doing all this fundraising.
Wow. That's amazing to me because I would think that you'd have to drop like a large part into this, and then after so long, like how do you find volunteers to come in and work with you on something like this? Because I don't know, it seems hard to me and I know nothing about campaigning other than the media stuff that I do. But it seems hard, like it would be a hard process to go, hey, I'm going to run and I need people to donate all this time and just materials for this. How do you start something like that?
So generally, I'll tell you this: I'm part of the Chester County Democratic Committee, so my countywide Democratic Party. So a lot of our volunteers are committee people.
Okay.
They come out, they knock doors, they work at the polls on election day. That's how we get a lot of our volunteers is through the Democratic Party. Some of them are people who just heard the story, who you know was just very involved. They wanted to be involved. They believed in my message.
Yeah.
There was a trans woman who lived in Reading, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit north of here. But she's going to Westchester University, just south of here. And, she was one of our rock stars,
Yeah.
knocking doors. She was with us almost every weekend, both in the primary and in the general. She was willing to put in the work because she believed in this, and she believed representation was going to be important.
I love that.
And it's a community thing. So the more and more people got to hear my message, the more people got to hear what I was about, what I wanted to do for this town, the more belief I had. And then as we got through towards the end, people started coming out just because they heard like, hey, I heard you're going out knocking doors today, and I want to help you out, not just because of you, but because I want to retain our Supreme Court justices.
Right.
So they're outdoors because of our Supreme Court, but they're also mentioning me. And so we went out also campaigning with other campaigns. That's really important as well. So, we campaigned with other people who are here in town, but also with people who are, we're running for either statewide or countywide offices.
Yeah, that's fair. You said that. Oh shit. Oh, that you had to run through. Let me just back up. Did you have endorsement from the Democratic Party? I'm assuming you did.
Yes. So the county party only endorses at the county and above level. Then you have all the different zones. So here in Chester County, I believe we have 17 or 18 different zones. And each of the zones will endorse the local candidates. So I had the Democratic committee that covers my borough, the townships that are around us. I had their endorsement.
So, but to get that endorsement, I'm assuming you had to make it through the primaries first.
No, they actually endorse before the primaries. So the reason they do that is because typically, if somebody gets the endorsement, the other challengers will drop out before the primary to save that candidate money and time. So they run unopposed in the primary, and then they can save their money to run in the general. In that case, that didn't happen for me. So I had to run, two full campaigns this year, one against another Democrat and one against a Republican.
That's a lot. That's a lot to. So
Yeah,
so
well,
the other Democrat that you were having to run against, that was in primaries then.
that was in the primaries. A Democrat in name only. He was best friends with the guy I ran against in the general. So,
Fascinating.
I think they put their names in thinking that, hey, we're gonna be Erica, and then we can run against each other, and that's just gonna be fun. But it didn't work out that way. So I ended up beating my primary opponent by 24 points.
Oh my god.
I beat my general opponent by nearly 30 points.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is such a big gap.
Yeah.
That's a huge
What
gap.
happens when you put in work?
Oh, it's
Well,
impressive.
so question though, was it predicted that you would have that big of a gap?
Oh, gosh, no. That's I was expecting, 8 to 10 points.
So you were
I
pretty
thought,
solid that you were going to win this.
so we have the voter advantage, the registration advantage with Democrats here
Right.
in my town, but it's not that much. It's not a huge gap. It's not like, it's not like I was winning by 1,000 votes or the voter registration is 1,000 vote lead or anything. It was much smaller. So the fact that we had an advantage gave me an idea that we were going to win, with the way the world was working right now, with the administration that we currently have at the federal level. I felt like there was going to be something like a wave, but I did not expect, a 30-point surge to get out the vote. We actually beat our county turnout by about 6 points. And that's just the fact that we were out knocking doors every weekend and knocked every door that we were legally allowed to knock on because the other ones were behind locked doors in apartment buildings, things like that.
Right. That's a 30-point lead. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around that because that's a big deal, and it sounds like you've had great success.
Yeah, we won 64% to 64-35.
Holy shit.
Jeez. With all of that kind of success, did you run into any unique challenges or complications on the campaign trail?
There was a couple. There were people who, you're knocking doors, and somebody opened up the door and said, "Absolutely not! Get the f off my property." There was one person who opened up her door who saw me and the pamphlet that I'm holding to give her and says, "You know, there's no way I'm voting for that guy."
Oh.
And those are the kind of things that I expected a lot more of. But those were the only two times that it happened.
Wow.
People wanted to have a discussion. People wanted to have a real conversation with you. I had a lot more people who would welcome me into their homes, offer me a drink, sit down on their couch. Let's talk about the things that are important to you.
So that brings some more questions. Do you feel like being trans opened more doors for you? Because I mean, that was something that was pushed really big during Trump's campaign. Pushing all this thing. In a lot of ways, it was a really big narrative that they were pushing about trans people, and it really put the trans community out in the spotlight. So, do you think that being trans and people curious because they don't know trans people, do you think that opened up more opportunities for you?
It may have, but I think it was also more of our approach. So when I went up to a door, I would say, "Hi, my name's Erica Deuso. What's on the top of your mind for Downingtown today?
A
What
burger and sandwich, a burger and fries.
Yeah. I never had somebody give me their lunch order, but I did have somebody say, "What do you think about, what's your favorite kind of pizza here in town?" Somebody was just testing me to see what my favorite, pizza restaurant was here in town, because there's definitely people who stratify, where they get their pizza from. And
Did you
so,
just say pepperoni?
Well, I had to say, they all have really good things. I love the pizza at Leone's, but I think sometimes they can skimp on the sauce a little bit. Jad's, I believe the sauce they do the sauce right, but the cheese, I don't like their blend as much. And you play it like trying to find good things about every place that you have, because you're trying to be the mayor for all of these businesses as well.
Right.
Sure.
So you never want to sit there and badmouth one place, except for one place, and it's just it is literally the worst. I'm not going to mention who it is, but it's definitely the worst pizza in town, and everybody knows it. Nobody can favorite pizza. We had one of those in college too, where it was you had one of these pizza places. It was called California Pizza. And when you got it because it was 1 o'clock in the morning. You were drunk and you needed something to soak up alcohol, but you were going to be sick the next day from eating it.
That's not California Pizza Kitchen, right?
No, not California Pizza Kitchen. Just this tiny little rundown place in Philadelphia called California Pizza. It was right on campus. People could get there really easily, and they delivered until 3 o'clock in the morning. It was cheap. It was like $5 for a pizza.
I mean, so is Little Caesars.
So is Little Caesars, but
not anymore. It's not.
They're not delivering at 3 o'clock in the morning either. So
we're gonna break into Little Caesars, fire up the ovens.
Well,
not hot and ready now.
No. That made my shoulders shake.
Yeah, it did.
Giggling.
It did. Your shoulders always shake when you giggle. Yeah.
That's a little forced. And I want to go back and talk. Oh, I think I crossed the wrong thing out. Can't read my own writing. And I also wanted to ask, what was the most surprising thing about running for office, for mayor? What was the most surprising thing? Any surprises?
So I think one of the most surprising things to me, and this is just maybe a little naivety on my part, but just I won on Monday night. I think we were able to call it pretty clearly at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
The next morning, no one had been called. There was a bunch of issues with the voting this year. No one called. No one called it and everything, but I got a call the next morning, 8:15 in the morning. I'm still waking up. I had taken the next day off just to recharge and recover,
Sure.
and I get a phone call from an area code I don't recognize. And I pick it up and I said hello, and he said, "Hi, Erica. This is Pennsylvania State Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis calling to congratulate you on your victory and making history here in the Commonwealth. And I just want to let you know that this is my cell phone number. If you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to give me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And,
Holy
you
moly.
know, we're gonna we're going to make sure we're out here supporting you and all of our other candidates. So, congratulations. And here I am. I'm just waking up, just becoming conscious. And
Sir, I
I did
haven't
not,
had my second coffee yet.
yeah,
Oh, that
I
was
hadn't
me
had
today.
any coffee yet.
Oh.
And, here I am talking to the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, about my race. And then, the media started hitting. I got our
Yeah.
local ABC affiliate, our CBS affiliate. I started seeing things posted online. Everybody saying congratulations, thank you for running, and just the outpouring of love and caring and support that I got. I looked at this as, again, I'm running for mayor of Dowingtown, and I just happened to be trans, and that meant so much to so many people.
Yes, it
Meant
did.
so much to the LGBTQ community and so much to the ally community. That maybe they're not trans, maybe they have a trans child or a trans relative or an LGBTQ relative, and they see this as representation.
Yeah,
So
and inspiration.
Yeah.
yeah, and I never thought about it. And then I started getting people saying, "Hey, if you can win mayor in this small town in Pennsylvania, then hey, I'm going to try to run for my city council in 2 years, and see what I can do." So being able to motivate people to get involved because they see somebody from a marginalized community, winning, and not just winning, by a couple of points, but winning with huge margins.
Yeah.
So I think people really think like, hey, run on the issues, run on the things that people care about, and your identity, um, your group that you're in, your community that you're in, that isn't going to matter to people unless somebody else is in that community.
Right.
Uh,
Because
we have
so many people, everyone's getting called out for being trans, and a lot of the community just doesn't even want the recognition. They don't want to be outed as being trans. They don't want the world to recognize them as being trans because they're so much more than just being trans. And so
Right.
I think in your case, like showcasing that we can run on real issues and not on this thing about being trans really inspires a lot of people.
Yeah, but also being the one who's going to push back against some of the rhetoric as well.
Yes.
I think people appreciated that when they saw somebody running for mayor, not just ignoring the negative messages, but actively leaning into them and either educating or pushing back with a sarcastic comment or something. I had one person today who kept on making these comments, and I said, "Hey, you're looking a little stressed right now. Would you like a Snickers?"
You're
And
not you when you're stressed.
Yes.
yeah, and, I got so many people saying like, "I didn't expect that from you, but that was great."
Yeah.
I had one person say that you're just a man in a dress, and I said I don't wear dresses that often. And they said, "You know what? Wasn't expecting that, but that was good. That was a good comeback." And it. He might not ever vote for me, but hey, at least it shows that I'm a human. I'm pushing back. I'm standing up for my community, standing up for myself. I'm not just going to roll over for somebody because they decide to be an idiot keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you ever feel additional pressure or responsibility knowing your election is, symbolically significant, to many LGBTQ people and allies? Do you feel that extra, pressure?
There's been a lot of people who came before me. You had, the first trans mayor in all of the United States, Stu Rasmussen, out in California, I believe. California or Colorado, one of the C's.
One of the C's.
And Stu had that level of burden on their back. Nowadays you have people like Zoe Zephyr, Danica Rome,
Yeah.
These people, Sarah McBride. You have other trans people, Brianna Titone out in Colorado. You have these trans people who are out there and are at the higher levels. So running for mayor, I look at it as, hey, people have run at the state level, people have run at the federal level, local level, now we need some more people. We need to build up our bench. And it doesn't matter if you're trans or gay or straight or, an immigrant. Let's build up our bench because, that's what we're going to need. We need strong people who, when our state representatives decide to take a swing at running for federal office, someone's going to need to fill that seat. And we need to build up our bench there.
Well, and I think that like having representation, especially on a local level, people get to know you. They get to see that you're a real human. So when the issues come up on a big national level, everyone goes, "Hey, knock that off," because we see it, we know it, we understand it. So you can knock that shit off.
And I think I've seen polling and different numbers that say when somebody knows and actually gets to know a trans person, their acceptance of trans people goes way up. So,
well, people are scared of what they don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully I have 8,500 people who are going to start getting to know a trans person really well, and we'll start accepting, trans people overall a little bit better.
Do you think in your tenure as mayor that you being trans is going to be a block that's brought up a lot, or do you think that's not going to be something you're really worried about?
I think the people here in the borough, overall, they don't care. There have been some rabble rousers, people trying to make this about my gender identity, my general opponent, my primary opponent who tried to affect the general election. Tried to make it about that. Some people from outside of town tried to insert themselves into the political process here, bringing up that, I'm only running on my gender identity.
Yeah.
It's the furthest thing from the truth, but overall, I remember, am I allowed to swear on here?
I mean, I've been swearing.
Absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to find out. So my opponent in the spring wrote up this letter and had Turning Point USA Chester kids, like middle schoolers, running around to doors, putting these flyers on the doors. This is a Democrat working with Turning Point, so weird. But they were putting these on people's doors. People were taking them off, either throwing them away, ripping them up, or one person took a picture of it and posted it online saying, "Get the fuck out of here with this." That's the kind of support you love to see from people where they're just like, we're standing up for our community. When somebody comes in here from outside the community and just to stir shit up, we're gonna push back on this. And that's what everybody did. And I think that hurt my opponent a lot because you saw somebody working with them. It actually looked the way that they wrote it down on the paper that my opponent paid him for his endorsement.
Yeah.
So, that looked bad. And nobody really liked seeing that. And I got no pushback. I got no people asking me questions about what was going on on that letter. Everybody's just like, we don't need this garbage in our town.
So, like, during Trump's campaign, there was a lot of anti-trans rhetoric, and it was wrongly assumed that that is what got him into office, when in reality it turned out the more big issues about bringing down inflation and these other things were what got him into office, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was followed up by in state races. A lot of anti-trans rhetoric was being pushed because, again, that assumption was there that
Again.
that's the big issue on people's mind when it turns out that most of the country doesn't give a shit. So
Mm-hmm.
that was something that we saw in both New Jersey and what was it, Virginia, where
Mm-hmm.
the people running for governor pushed really the ones that pushed a lot of anti-trans messaging were the ones that ended up losing. And in the same case, like you, turns out that hating on shitting on a bunch of people doesn't actually get you into office.
Does not
Exactly.
work.
I mean,
So, it's not just New Jersey and Virginia where this was seen as something negative. You're talking about around the country. Some of the most red places in this country pushed back on some of this rhetoric that we're hearing. Mississippi broke a veto-proof majority in their House. So now they no longer have a veto-proof majority in the Mississippi House. Um, that's amazing. Georgia got two public sector employees elected for the first time. Here in Pennsylvania, you had counties that are literally in the middle of nowhere, where I think deer outnumber the people in some of these counties. You had county council flipping for the first time to blue. You know,
Right.
one of my friends, Stephanie, she ran for Lower Macungie Township supervisor. They have never had an all Democrat township supervisor board. Now they do. So a lot of people were making history this year by flipping local seats to blue. Counties like Elk County, super conservative. Clarion County, super conservative. Luzerne County, conservative. They're flipping blue. So I think people are just sick of hearing these same things, these same lies by these same politicians. And they want somebody new, somebody who they feel is going to push back and really represent the people and stop representing everybody else.
well, and I think pushing on a message of hope and love makes a bigger dent than hate.
Right. And I posted something about that when that letter came out from my opponent, and I said, look, I've run on love for this town, love for the people. That's who I'm looking to serve, and I think you get a lot more done, you get a lot more built with love than you'll ever get built with hate
I
or
agree.
fear.
Sure.
And that really resonated with a lot of people. That you're going to get a lot more done when you look at it from a standpoint of loving other people than you do from hating or fearing other people.
I'm thinking to that video I just showed you today with Jimmy Stewart, whatever, being impersonated by Jim Carrey. Where he's like he's the most positive person ever. You see that nuclear storm there, Mary? You see the storm?
You want the moon?
It's
Mary?
a big beautiful cloud. Look at that beautiful cloud up there. It's got all the color. What a mushroom. Anyway, yeah. So running on love, I think, is just a wonderful message. I also wanted to jump back just a little bit because you made a comment about Bear had asked, do you feel pressure about being this role model for trans people? And I felt a lot of pressure when we first started this podcast. I had been receiving a few messages of love and support from people. One of the messages, oh my God, thank you for this. You've given me a reason to live again. And I felt like that was so much pressure on me to perform. People are counting on you. And I was talking to a therapist about it, and her answer was, she says they're not counting on you to perform it. They don't care about your performance. They're counting on you to be you because that's what they tuned in to listen to. And so I think in the point of your thing, you ran on love, and people just want you for being you. I mean, clearly you're a person that's just full of love, and I think that's what resonates.
Yeah, and 100%. I think you're running on things like loving your town, loving the people, loving the businesses, and that's the one thing, walking around, I could just say things like, hey, are you excited about our new restaurant, The Burrow, opening up? Or, oh, I don't really know what's going in there, but the rumor is that it's going to be a Mexican restaurant. Or, that new bakery that just opened. People start lining up at 5:45 in the morning to get their baked goods from this place. It's really good. I'd head over there if I were you, but they sell out every morning. Getting to, talk to people about businesses and what's going on in their lives, and, whether, I found out that there's a large group of people here with children with autism, because there's a lot of schools in this area that focus on autism.
Right.
And, so people came here, put down roots, bought a house, and now they're here to be near their children who go to these schools for autistic people. And so, you have to look at it as like, what do these people care about?
Tylenol in the water.
Well, funny, my neighbor behind me works for Kenvue, which is the consumer brands branch that was J&J, who made Tylenol. And when that came out, she would come out every morning to the bus stop to drop off her daughter wearing her Tylenol sweatshirt. And it was amazing to see that little bit of individual pushback on the most stupid things. But we have a program here called Handle with Care. And what that does is, let's say somebody has Alzheimer's, dementia, autism. They can go and voluntarily register their loved one with the borough. So that way, if a police call has to come in from that location, the police already know that this person has dementia, that this person has autism, has
What about
emotional...
PTSD?
Yeah, PTSD is on that list as well. So that way they know what they're getting into before they get to the house. So they aren't, if someone's having a break from PTSD, hey, we're not coming in with guns blazing. We're coming in with a social worker. Someone has dementia, right. We're coming in with somebody who is versed in elder care.
Yeah.
And can better serve that population. So, just talking to people like that who, just in conversation comes up like, oh, my daughter has autism. Oh, did you know about this program we have called Handle with Care? You can get it registered so police and first responders know that this person in your house has autism. And I want to expand that so that first responders know that, hey, you have a dog. Let's say your house catches on fire and they're going to this location. Yeah. They don't know what they're going in, but they look on the page and they say, oh, this person has a dog and 3 cats. Well, we have to go in and see if this dog is there.
Right.
Yeah. I saw a plaque on somebody's house the other day I was making a delivery to, and it had a thing there said, there's a dog in this residence. If anything happens, make sure to get the dog. I found that to be interesting.
Yeah, and that's what this program is going to do is let people know before they come in what they're coming into.
I love that. Is that program already running then?
So it's running on a very limited basis. I think there's a number of like 6 or 7 different things that you can report. I'd like to expand that.
Is that just a local program or is that like a national program that you guys are just a chapter in?
So they're trying to roll it out to far more places nationally.
Okay.
And if that's something that you think would work for the Portland PD, talk to them about it.
I mean, I think that would be really nice because I have on my phone, I have a note that I've wrote on my phone that says, hey, by the way, my name's Daphne. I have PTSD and, severe anxiety and this thing. So that way, here's I can just hand on my phone and say, here's what you're walking into. So I think something like your program would be amazing.
Yeah, and I can even email you over the link to it so you can go take a look at what it looks like.
I would love that.
And see if the Portland PD has a program like that where you can go on there, and so you don't have to show them their phone. It'll come up on their computer automatically.
I mean, at this point, I'm friends with all of them. So
Well,
It's better to be friends than the alternative. So
Yeah.
that's
yeah, for sure.
I may have one or two of them.
well, I have to know mine pretty well. That's the mayor's job here is public safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What what are you gonna do to keep your town safer?
So a lot of it's just small time stuff. Making sure that we have officers around our schools in the morning and the afternoon. So when school lets out and these kids are walking home, they feel safe. So the police will be visible, even if they're not actively pulling people over. Just having a visible police presence while kids are walking home from school, that's going to mean a lot to parents.
Well,
Gonna focus on
that brings in a different question, though, right? Because what about ICE?
So I was talking to somebody yesterday on a different interview, and they brought up ICE and what are we going to do about that? And I said, look, our Downingtown Police Department is here to serve and protect the residents of Downingtown. We don't ask them for their papers when we stop them because they're speeding. We're here to serve and protect everybody.
Yeah.
So if ICE comes in here, we're not going to deputize our police force to go out and arrest people who they think might be here illegally because, they have their skin is the wrong shade of pure premium.
They bought at Home Depot.
Yeah, yeah. As opposed to Lowe's, which is I think Velspar.
Yes.
But if you, we don't want to judge people by that. So I told them what this means is that ICE is going to, if they come in here, our police department is going to hold them accountable. So if they start attacking people, if they start throwing people to the ground, our police is going to be authorized to make arrests of these ICE agents. Because I don't care what you say. If you start mistreating people for no reason, then you're going to be held accountable.
Do you actually have the ability to make that kind of proclamation?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
So, the mayor works in conjunction with the chief of police. And the chief of police has already told me that his officers are here to protect the people of Downingtown. They aren't here to do ICE's job. And matter of fact, if ICE starts breaking the law, they're going to be authorized to step in. I want the people of Downingtown to feel safe calling the police if they see ICE at their doors. Have our police come in and say, hey, where's your warrant? Let me see your warrant that's signed by a judge.
Yeah.
And check these things out. Hey, this person, you have a warrant? Well, then this person's going to be treated with respect. You're not going to throw them to the ground and handcuff them and throw them in the back of the car. You're not going to attack a loved one because they're upset because you're taking their dad or their wife away. You're going to do this professionally. So we want to make sure that the people feel safe calling the police, and by having them not work with ICE, having them just serve and protect the people here, I think we're instilling a lot of trust with our police department.
I love that.
So the police department is how do I ask that? Your police department is prepared to deal with situations involving ICE.
Correct.
Was there a special training that was discussed or done, or was this kind of like a?
So the way that the chief of police and I were talking about it, it's called common decency. Treating people like humans, not like cattle who need to be loaded into a truck to be brought to a slaughterhouse.
Sure.
Damn.
It's treating people.
That is a hell of an analogy.
Mm-hmm, it is.
Yeah. And we've seen other people throughout history being thrown in cars and thrown in trains, and that didn't end up well either.
What are you most excited about as mayor?
I think it's just being able to go out, have more conversations with people, and actually be able to do something about it. You know, there's a lot of talk. Hey, I want to do this, or I'd like to see this thing proposed and this ordinance. But once you take office, you can actually start working on those things.
Yeah.
You have the authority to go out and talk to people about flooding and actually do something about it, or make changes to the police department that is going to help the community.
Do you think
That's what
previous mayors weren't doing that?
I think the previous mayors did a great job with what they had, but there's other things that I want to do that are different from what previous mayors did.
Good answer.
My direct predecessor had a very, he loved meeting with the chief of police, but he deferred to the chief of police on everything. If the chief said he wanted to do this, that's your area of expertise. I'm not going to jump in. I'm not going to say anything about that. The one before that was a little bit more involved, but he looked at this as something where he tried to stay within the bounds that the current mayor is allowed to stay within. I want to look and investigate. What can the mayor be? Not just what should the mayor be, but what can the mayor be?
I mean, but doesn't that put you on the same kind of path as Donald Trump?
I don't see it that it's on the same path as Donald Trump, because it's not like I'm going to go out and break the law and then ask for forgiveness, or not even ask for forgiveness. It's going to be, hey, I want to look at housing affordability. Yeah, that's not in the job description of the mayor, but you know what? I have 6 borough council members that I want to go talk to each of them and see if I can get their support on set-asides for housing affordability here in town.
Yeah.
Let's work together to come up with ways to better this town. And hey, maybe it's borough council that passes an ordinance, but it's still me getting to work for the people of this town.
If there is a message that you want to offer to other trans people, because again, you are a national icon at this point.
Yes.
Right? You made national headlines. The trans community knows who you are, and they're so proud of you, but also excited to see change and difference, and maybe even have a little bit more hope for the future. If you could leave them with one message, I recognize that they're not in your district maybe, but if you could have a message for them, what would that message be?
For everybody who has been, unseen, unheard, underestimated, I think this victory right here says that, jump in, try to make a change. If somebody like myself, who just tried to be a good neighbor, talk to people, understand their problems, and try to be there for everybody. If I can win this race, then anybody can win a race. Don't limit yourself to thinking that it's impossible, because I think we've seen so many times over the past 8 years, 10 years, all the things that we once thought was impossible, good and bad, is now very possible. And so don't sell yourself short. And it's not just the trans community, it's the marginalized communities out there.
Yeah.
Whether it's immigrants, different races, don't sell yourself short. Get out there and make a difference. Because that's all people want to see.
Yeah.
Is that you're willing to roll up your sleeves and get the work done.
I love that so much.
Yeah, we both do. Like that it's very admirable for you to say that, Erica. That is very special, and to our listeners, that it's going to be special to them too.
Yeah, we told a couple people that you were going to be coming on the podcast, and they were so excited about it. Like this is a big deal for a lot of the trans community.
Yeah, they were fangirling. Like, oh my god. Yeah.
You want to show us that again?
Oh my god. Yeah, I can do that.
So dumb.
I know.
So dumb.
I know.
Oh my god. Hey,
and I guess just one parting term here that I just want to you know, leave for people is that,
Hmm.
don't sell yourself short on identity either. I've heard a couple of people here in town, um, other trans people. I'm just a trans woman. What can I do?
Yeah.
You're not just a trans woman. You're not just a trans man. You're not just non-binary. You're so much more. So don't ever sell yourself short. And start looking at it from this perspective. Start looking at it and saying, "Hey, I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a dog mom. I'm a teacher. I'm a firefighter. I'm all these different things who happens to be trans." Instead of coming at it from, "Oh, I'm a trans person who is this and this and this,"
Yeah.
because the way I look at it, being trans, defines me about as much as my eye color defines me, or whether I'm right or left-handed.
I mean,
It's something.
Sure.
and a lot of people asking the question, all it is telling them what's in your pants.
Exactly. I'm so much more than what's in my pants.
Yes.
Sure.
And and if somebody's thinking about what's in your pants, you have to wonder how awesome their browser history is.
Oh my. Oh my.
I fucking love you. That's amazing.
That's great. That is great.
Erica, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I know it was short notice and you were just so willing to come on, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you have became this icon for the country and for trans people. It just gives so much hope for other people. It made me happy just to see the news, and I mean, yeah, you are so much more than being trans. And you also become an icon by doing so and offer a lot of people hope from it. And so I appreciate your willingness to come on here, but I'm also appreciating of your willingness to put yourself out there in this way.
Yes.
And make a push for a change. It inspires so many other people to work in their communities to try to make change too. And I think that's going to touch a lot of people. I also think it's brave of you to put yourself out there in this kind of way, especially considering that all of a sudden you were thrown onto a national platform. I think
Yeah.
that's brave. And so I don't know. You're beautiful, and I just love what you're doing here. I'm just in awe. I really am. I just think you're such a inspirational figure. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, and that's one thing I do need to improve on is how to take compliments, because I'm not used to that, coming from anybody else other than my husband or my mom or my dad or something like that. So I have to get better at that. But I'm going to work every day to make sure I'm making this community proud, that I'm making my town proud, and I'm making the LGBTQ community just so proud of everything that we're doing here.
They are proud of you.
Oh, they are. And you got fans here in Portland now, too. For sure. And
Well, next time I'm in Portland, I'll we'll go out and try some microbrews or something like that.
Yeah, Portland, Oregon, not
yeah.
Maine.
Oregon, not
Yes,
Maine.
yes. I already know most of the breweries in Portland, Maine. So, Portland, Oregon, this is next. This is the next
Right on.
Portland.
Well, thank you again, Erica, and hope you continue, what you're doing long term and keep up the good work.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. And thank you for all of our listeners for tuning in. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as well as find us on Spotify and YouTube. And if you yourself would like to be a guest on our podcast, the contact is emailing Daphne at transplaitingpodcast.com. You can also visit our website, drop us a line.
Socials.
That's all the socials. And I will make I already said that.
Well, it's also Trans Awareness
Trans
Week, and
Awareness
so we're
Week.
doing a lot more for it, and
More episodes and
more awareness.
More awareness. And thank you for tuning in. Catch us next time. And as always, welcome to the family.